Hello, it's Helen Butler here from Inspired People Solutions. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. I'm delighted to have a very special guest with us. We've got Angie Fasciani from Contino, and Contino are an organisation that Angie will tell you a little bit about more, but the way she described it on a chat with me previously is that we were born in the cloud, which I thought was gorgeous. So Angie and I have known each other for about 10 years, but both of us have had experience with working remotely or working flexibly previously. And I think Contino have given Angie the opportunity to work one day from home already, but now with the federal government coming out and saying everybody's to work from home, I thought it was really good to get someone who is an expert in HR, but also has flexible working options part of her routine for a long time now, managing a home life, managing people in her organisation. I thought it'd be a great opportunity for us to have a chat to Angie about her HR experience, not only broadly working from home, but particularly when coronavirus hit our shores, what her global team's been doing. They seem to have some really great initiatives that they've got in place, and also practically what she's seeing in her organisation with some of her clients about working remotely, how we go about managing a remote workforce, and some of the frequently asked questions that have been coming across her desk from some of her clients and from some of her stakeholders. So thank you, Angie, so much for your time and for joining us today. Would you like to give us a bit of a snapshot about you and your experience in your sort of family life, if you wouldn't mind?
Sure. Thanks, Helen. So I'm People Operations Manager for APAC, one of four. I've been in HR for around 18 years, and I've worked for many different businesses, mainly in the enterprise space and startup space. And it's been quite an interesting start to 2020 in HR land, I think. Definitely some interesting and new, exciting in a way, but very much big challenges that the industry, or Australia in particular, the world are facing. So as you mentioned, I work for a company called Contino. Been there for about 2 years now, and we are a company that helps highly regulated enterprises with measurable transformation. So through adopting enterprise DevOps, cloud native computing and data platforms, and it's a really exciting industry to be part of. I'm really lucky to be working for a business that has offered me flexible work arrangements and encourages them where possible around the entire business. Very supportive. The tools are there and set up in a way that we were able to, with the more recent events, all work remotely quite quickly. And part of that now is to assist and help our customers do that as well. So I think the biggest challenge that we've had the last few weeks is getting that connectivity set up within our customers so we can still work with them and consult to them, and the challenges that they face on site, maybe not being as prepared as some businesses are to work from home, or get their staff to prepare mentally and also physically with the right equipment to work from home.
I found that certainly, it felt like last week, so from sort of that Friday the 13th was ground zero. Week one, everyone just seemed to be like, get home, it's not safe. Someone on our floor's got a positive, coronavirus test. And I think it seems to me, and I don't know if you experience this too, but sort of you just got everybody home. So you got everybody home as quickly as you could. And then it's like, oh, hang on a minute. Nobody's got, the sort of double, computed screens, and we need to get everybody set up ergonomically and do safety checklists. And it seems like that was all done last week. But now it's like, well, how do we work remotely? I mean, I've had clients say to me, Helen, what's Skype? And I almost fell off my chair. And I think, well, thank God we haven't got video conferencing on now. But, it is really those simple, practical things which, for you who've worked remotely before, it's a no-brainer. But when we first stepped out of our corporate office and we had to set up things and work remotely, we've got new technology available to us. Can you, I guess, talk us through, because you have been working from home for such a long period of time, but what connectivity are you talking about? Not only from a technical point of view, but how do we get managers to work and manage really well remotely, and what tools, tips and tricks could you impart on the listeners about what works for you and what's been really good at keeping not only your global HR team connected, but also in Australia, how do you keep your managers managing, and what tips and tricks can you impart on us in that respect?
Yeah, we like I mentioned, this is all natural to people at Contino.
Yeah.
But we have put some, helpful hints to people to put them so they understand what they should be doing when they're at home, or to figure out what works for them.
Yeah.
And also guiding our customers through that. So I think the most important tip would be communication. That's the key to really making sure that everyone's in the loop with what's happening, that they're up to date with Contino news, but also their own customer news. We work with a lot of large enterprises, so they have a lot of different challenges than our cloud company would have, and really helping them through that. But just making sure our leaders have really stepped up, our local leadership team, but also the global leadership team, to make sure that everyone is aware of what's happening, how it impacts them, how can we support them through that. So it's been really impressive from that point of view. I mean, the second thing as well is, as an agile company, we are, it's business as usual in some aspects, where we've got our daily catch-ups, stand-ups, in some way, collaborating, which we naturally do as a business. We tend to hire people who are natural collaborators, and it's all about sharing information and growing. So that's continuing, maybe through different forums, not as much as, the face-to-face. Obviously, we use Slack.
Yep.
We use Trello, G Suite, Zoom, all those kind of tools to make sure everyone is connected. That's really important. But when you're connecting, I think one of the things that we're really, putting in our helpful hints to our employees and our customers is switch on the video. Make sure that you can see the other person, that you're having that visual connection with someone when you are talking to them. That's really important. I think it's important to have fun as well while you're doing that, when appropriate, obviously. So that's probably the key things, writing the tools.
Yep.
The other thing, we spoke about a lot previously, Helen, is making sure that you have a schedule.
Yep.
That you're sticking to it, and that you're taking breaks as well.
Yep.
So things like, at lunchtime, go and take the dog for a walk.
Yep.
Get out of your home office or wherever you're located, and go and have lunch somewhere else. Don't eat it at your desk. Make sure that you have little rests in between meetings. Things like that are really helpful for people to have that schedule.
Yep.
I've got 2 kids, so they're going to be at home. So keeping their schedule up as well is important for my own work schedule too.
Yep.
So, you raised a really good idea when we were chatting around making sure their lunches were made and they knew what they were going to be working on. It helps them keep a schedule, but it also helps, me keep a schedule while I'm working from home.
Yeah. I think that's going to be really critical, and that's something that, like, I'm a week into having my kids home full-time now, and I just know, I know when I work from home personally, I still, when they leave for school, because my husband does drop off, I come to my desk and I write my to-do list for the day, and then I put calendar blocks in my day, so I know those are the tasks that I've got to get through. So it's just like being in an office, and I know that works for me, and I've had to do exactly the same with our family routine. So they know, between 7 and 9, it's breakfast time, and we do jigsaws, or we do card games, or they run around. I mean, we're on 25 acres here, so I get them to run the dog, play on the swings, they go kick the footy and all that sort of stuff. So, but then it comes to 9 o'clock and it's set out. But I also have to set out their schoolwork for the day, because we haven't got a homeschooling agenda yet, so I've just been doing that for them. But it's critical, so they know while I'm talking to you, they know they can't come and annoy me. They have to go and check the list on the fridge. So I would really encourage that. I think that routine's critical, and like we said before, like even the whole getting up and even getting in your work clothes and putting your face on for the day, I do not do that. But I made a joke the other day to my husband. I'm like, do I have to get out of my day pajamas and hop into my night pajamas now? And he was mortified because he gets in his work clothes for his day as well. So
Yeah.
I'm a bit more relaxed around that, but I think whatever works for you to get you into that work frame on, I think that's a really great thing to be able to do. Just to have that routine is, like you said, really
Absolutely.
important. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I think, sorry to cut you off, but it's going to be really critical now. You guys have got schools closing down there next week.
Yes.
That brings with it a whole new complexity with managers' expectations around how your work is going to be done when you're working from home. You know, I've got a girlfriend in Norway who's had her 2 kids home now for 2 weeks, and she's solo parenting because her husband's work is seen as an essential service. And she said to me, how do they expect me to do 8 hours work when I've got these 2 kids at home? And I'm like, oh. So one of the things that I've seen is we're going to have to adjust managers' expectations, and that is exactly where your first point comes in about the communication, readjusting your productivity expectations. You might have to change your job to job share with someone in your team, or divvy up responsibilities, or work at different hours. So you're planning, but you're being flexible and agile, and you're communicating are going to be really, really critical in this time. So what are your thoughts around that? And I guess, have you seen people who've got different home life or work scenarios, and how that's, how are you talking to them? What advice are you giving them on how to manage all of this? I guess it's going to be thrown our way really soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good point. We at Contino, all the people ops team speaks to everyone as a minimum once a week.
Yep.
Just to make sure that it's just a friendly chat. It's not a what are you doing? How's your work going? It's more how are you doing? How's your partner, your family, your living situation?
Yeah.
They all have, like, my situation is I've got kids, but there's a lot of people out there that I spoke to today. One of them is a parent with a newborn. One of them is got a pregnant wife. One of them has lives with her husband, but also her elderly parents.
Right.
So it raises different concerns. So I think the first part of it is, like you said, being flexible to their circumstances, and finding what works for them.
Yep.
But also listening and just sitting there and listening to them, hearing what's working for them.
Yep.
And what isn't working for them, and trying to adjust your approach so that they feel comfortable in order to continue working. I work with a bunch of very passionate people. They want to continue working. They want to continue adding value and really striving for that. And it's contagious, which is great.
Yeah.
As a business, we like to innovate, and I think the staff are keen to continue doing that. It's just listening to them and seeing what their circumstances are like. Yeah. And that's really what we're focusing on, especially at these beginning stages. Yeah. Just to make sure that they're all right and that they're coping with the situation. We have some people who are on their own. They live in apartments.
Yeah.
That's a different struggle, a different challenge that they've got. So making sure that they feel connected. Do they have enough connection with the business? Encouraging them to do things like, we're really pushing people to join certain things like Headspace and Calm, and reimbursing that for them to make sure that they're connected, but they also have their own peace within themselves and their mental health to push forward as well. It's different for people in Contino. We do have that flexibility, so they're used to it, but doing it full time is different than doing it once or twice a week. Yeah. But for our customers and clients, sometimes that concept's a little bit harder. Yeah. So it's really breaking it down for them, making sure they understand it's not just the physical setup, it's the wellness and mental health of your employees during this time as well. Make sure that you're listening to them, that you're providing the guidance for their personal situation. Yeah. It's not one size fits all. I know you probably hear that a lot, but it isn't, especially in this circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really important just to make sure that you are not putting the one rule for everyone.
Yeah. I think I think you're absolutely right. And, people's living situations are incredibly different. And if anything during this time, And I think something that I take on board as a HR practitioner, you know, when you do have issues as a HR person, you're like, take a deep breath, ask them how they are, because you never know what is going on at home or behind the scenes for that person. And I think if you can adopt that approach now more than ever and go in with compassion and empathy and care, it's going to be really critical for you to get to the bottom of things, to make staff more comfortable. And like you said, in our jobs, communication is key. Of course it is, you know, so it's just helping your managers. We've got a manager's toolkit, which is about how to manage a remote working workforce and how to look at different ways of managing a workforce when everyone's disconnected isn't the right word, but not working in the one spot. And like you said, your helpful hints, those sort of things that organisations can put out that equip managers will be really critical to making sure your managers succeed as well and they don't feel overwhelmed. So the fact that you've got a once a week call with your global manager, I think is really important, and it is just a touch base and how's everything going, how's the family, how's the pets, how are you going. It's just really important to get that done and get that at front of mind during this crazy time, because everything changes, like you said, and we've got to be flexible and adaptable in our approach.
Yeah, well, the weekly call is actually with every single employee.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So not with it's with every single employee. A people ops person will contact them to have a conversation with them and see how they're going.
Brilliant.
My manager's wonderful. She checks in constantly with us because you know it's different. It's a different level of pressure for people operations.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to make sure that every employee is heard and that their situation is measured. And like you said, with the helpful hints, we also have ways to deal with remote working meetings. So we've got some hints around. So now, you know, managers, how do you deal with remote meetings that you maybe done once or twice a week, but now you have to do every day?
Yeah.
And how do you make sure that you're scaling those requirements so that, you know, we're not sure how long this could be. This could be 2 weeks, it could be 4 months, or who knows.
Yeah.
So making sure that they're set up with that as well, and also etiquette around what that looks like too, as well. So that's important that people understand what that means when you're on a customer call, when you're on a team call, a squad call.
Yeah.
What's expected.
Yeah, totally. Beautiful. Look, I'm really conscious of your time, but just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. It was really great to have just someone who I love it, is born in the cloud, so you're naturally tech savvy, but also just, you know, for some of us who aren't used to that, just to be able to give us some hints and tips, and also, you know, some technology that is available. And a lot of that stuff that you mentioned, Zoom, Slack, Trello, G Suite, some of it's out there for free. So people can really, you know, and doing an online tutorial does not take much. So you've got the capability to be able to set that up. So thank you so much for sharing about what not only works from a tech point of view, but all from a human-centric point of view. So thanks so much for your time, Ange. It was lovely to chat to you.
No problems, Helen. Anytime. Thank you.